Hi Nally, how are you Nally? Thank you so much for joining to the stream, dear Nally. A lot of love and respect for you joining. Thank you so much for being there, my dear. I wanna writing your name on the ball and the paper. Hi Nally, how are you, dear Nally? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Nally. Thank you so much for your joining. Larry, our next member is Larry. How are you, Larry? Thank you so much for your joining. Yeah, Emma. How are you, dear Emma? How are you, Emma? Thank you so much for your joining, pretty Emma. A lot of love and respect for your joining. Thank you so much for your joining, dear Emma. Jessica, how are you, dear Jessica? How are you, Jessica? Thank you so much for your joining. Kaden, how are you, dear Kaden? How are you, Kaden? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Kaden. A lot of love and respect for your joining. Yeah, guys, to write your name and spread the love on the screen to send. Yeah, guys, to send the super chat, super sticker. You wanna have to write to 10, send the super sticker, guys. Yeah, because the super stickers is always, yeah, yours. The super stickers are always have to looks beautiful. And thank you so much for your joining, dear Kaden. Hurry up, guys. Every respected member, you should have to write your name in the chat, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for your joining, guys. Aris, how are you, Aris? How are you, Aris? Where are you from? Watching, dear Aris. Thank you so much for your joining. Carol, how are you, dear Carol? How are you, Carol? Thank you so much for your joining. Hi, please do Charlotte. Okay, Charlotte. How are you, Charlotte? Thank you so much for your joining, Charlotte. For joining my stream, my dear Charlotte. Carol, write your name, my dear. Jason, how are you, Jason? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Jason. Yeah, if you do Sarim, I will send. Yeah, why not, dears? How are you, dear Sarim? Sarim, you can send me. You can do the super chat. You can send me the laughing disco for my support. Gracias, person. And welcome, dear Aris. Welcome, my dear. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sarim, for joining my stream. If you wanna can gift, you can send me a gift for my support, for my for the appreciation. I have a lot of love and respect for you joining. Thank you so much for your joining there. Amber, how are you, dear Amber? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Amber. How are you, Amber? Thank you so much for your joining, Dario. How are you, Dario? Thank you so much for your joining, Dario. How are you, Dario? A lot of love and respect for your joining. Nicole, how are you, dear Nicole? Thank you so much for your joining, Nicole. A lot of love and respect for your joining, Nicole. And Norgis, how are you, Norgis? How are you, Norgis? Thank you so much for your joining. Amelie, how are you, dear Amelie? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Amelie. A lot of love and respect for your joining, dear Amelie. Helena, how are you, dear Helena? How are you, Helena? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Helena. A lot of love and respect for your joining, Norgis. How are you? I write your name, my dear. Elsa, how are you, Elsa? Yeah, guys, if you wanna can do the super chat, you should make a donation for the super chat. You can send the laughing disco. Elisa, how are you, Elisa? Nicole, how are you, Nicole? Thank you so much for your joining, Nicole. How are you, Nicole? Jari, how are you, Jari? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Jari. I have a lot of love and respect for your joining. Please encourage the likes, guys. Yeah, encourage the likes. Thank you, Jali. Sorry, Jari. Lala, how are you, dear Lala? A lot of love and respect for your joining, dear Lala. Kale, I write your name. Hi, I am from Iran. Thank you for watching from Iran, dear Madi. Love, hi, love. How are you, love? Thank you so much for your joining. Saman, how are you, dear Saman? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Saman. A lot of love and respect for your joining. I cannot understand the love. How are you, love? Thank you so much for your joining, love. How are you, love? Mia, how are you, Mia? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Mia. A lot of love and respect for your joining. Jasmine, how are you, Jasmine? Thank you so much for your joining, pretty Jasmine. Thank you so much for your joining, Arim. How are you, Arim? How are you, Arim? Thank you so much for your joining, Arim. Monday, how are you, Monday? Please, guys, if you wanna can do the super chat, you have to do the super chat for my support. If you can send the gift, you should have to send the gift for the and you can send the gift. Monday, I write your name, Monday. How are you, Monday? Ariam, how are you, Ariam? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Ariam. Liusa, how are you, dear Liusa? How are you, Liusa? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Liusa. Adim, how are you, dear Adim? Thank you so much for your joining, Adim. Please, Mende, please, Mende. I write your name. Here is your name. Looks that there. Who's do? Ava, how are you, Ava? Thank you so much for your joining, Marido. How are you, pretty Marido? How are you, Marido? Thank you so much for your joining, Marido. A lot of love and respect for your joining, Adim. I write your name, Martina. How are you, Martina? Thank you so much for your joining, Martina. Please, guys, you should have to write your name in the chat, guys, and do the super chat. Estende, how are you, Estende? Astereda, how are you, dear Astereda? Thank you so much for your joining. Miljan, how are you, Miljan? Thank you so much for your joining, Miljana. How are you, Miljana? Maria, how are you, Maria? To write your name in the chat, guys, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Azhan, how are you, Azhan? Thank you so much for your joining. Otia, how are you, Otia? Thank you so much for your joining. Alia, how are you, dear Alia? Thank you so much for your joining, Alia. Rafil, how are you, Rafil? Please, guys, you should have to do the super chat for the support, guys, and send the laughing disco. Quita, how are you? I have write your name with please write Ava. How are you, Ava? How are you, Ava? Thank you so much for your joining. If you don't know Ava, I'll be really sad. Maria, Azhan, I write your name. Encore, how are you, Encore? Thank you so much for your joining, Encore. Amir, how are you, Amir? Thank you so much for your joining, Amir. Ahan, how are you, Ahan? Ara, how are you, dear Ara? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Ara. Larry, how are you, dear Larry? Thank you so much for your joining, Larry. Jungkook, how are you, Jungkook? Thank you so much for your joining. Mikale, how are you, Mikale? How are you, Mikale? Thank you so much for your joining. Nisaf, how are you, Nisaf? How are you, Nisaf? Thank you so much for your joining. Jalik, how are you, Jalik? Please, guys, to write your name in the chat and also to make a donation or a break day. How are you? A break day. Obrigado. How are you? Obrigado. Thank you so much for your journey. Amber, how are you, dear Amber? Thank you so much for your journey. Mallory, how are you, Mallory? How are you, Mallory? Leona, how are you, dear Leona? Azhan, how are you, Azhan? Amber, how are you, Amber? Anybody can send the laughing disco or do the super chat, guys. Army, how are you, Army? Anybody can send the laughing disco, guys. Empire, how are you, Empire? Sarah, how are you, pretty Sarah? Thank you so much for your joining. Heaven, how are you, Heaven? Sarah, Arabian name. Empire, Azhar, Arabian name. Kante, how are you, Kante? Rokio. How are you, Raitio? Raitio, Alora, how are you, Alora? Thanks, welcome there. Tikak, how are you, Tikak? Max, how are you, Max? Bjorang, how are you, Bjorang? Kevin, how are you, Kevin? Larissa, how are you, Larissa? Azlam, how are you, Azlam? Alizam, hi, Alizam, how are you, Alizam? Thank you so much for your joining, Alizam. How are you, Alizam? Larissa, Arabian name. Max, Arabian name, mother. Tune, how are you, Tuna? How are you, Tuna? Shanal, how are you, Shanal? How are you, Shanal? Islam, how are you, Islam? How are you, Islam? Lenzi, how are you, Lenzi? How are you, Lenzi? Mia, how are you, Mia? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Mia. Every respected member have to write your name in the chat, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Awab, how are you, Awab? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Awab. Obad, how are you, dear Obad? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Obad. Tio, how are you, dear Tio? How are you, Tio? Thank you so much for your joining. And Ingador, how are you, Lingador? Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat, guys, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Yeah, Joe and Jogyol, how are you, Jogyol? Thank you so much for your joining, Jogyol. How are you, Jogyol? Cam John, how are you, Cam John? How are you, Cam John? How are you, Cam John? Thank you so much for your joining, Cam John. Please, guys, Kessan, how are you, Kessan? Any person can do the super chat for my support, guys. or send a laughing disco, or send a laughing disco, or do a super chat for the support. And yeah guys, and Nia, how are you dear? And Nia, thank you so much for your joining. And Nia, Manika, how are you? Manika, how are you? Manik, welcome there. Bearing, Miss, how are you? Miss, thank you so much for your joining, dear Miss. Najum, Mia, how are you? Mia, Nant, how are you? Nenat, how are you? Nenat, Dapan, how are you? Dapan, thank you so much for your joining, Dapan. A lot of love and respect for your joining. Harry, how are you? Harry, Jen, how are you? Jen, please guys do the super chat to write your name in the chat guys, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Hugo, how are you? Hugo, please guys send the laughing disco or do the super chat guys if you wanna to send a laughing disco. Rashid, how are you? Rashid, thank you so much for your joining, dear Rashid. Kusninat, how are you? Kusninat, Kitty, how are you? Kitty, hurry up guys to write your name in the chat guys. SC, how are you? SC, how are you? SC, Kiko, how are you? Kiko, Eric Kwe, how are you? Eric Kwe, how are you? Eric Kwe, thank you so much for your joining, dear Eric Kwe. Yamil, how are you? Yamil, hurry up guys to write your name. Lorena, how are you? Lorena, a lot of love and respect for your joining. Danny, how are you? Danny, Zamina, how are you? Zamina, hi Zamina, how are you? Zamina, thank you so much for your joining, dear Zamina. Oh, couple, thank you so much for the star, dear couple. How are you? Couple, thank you so much, couple. And to, how are you? Ento, how are you? Ento, Venom, how are you? Venom, how are you? Venom, Larry, how are you? Larry, Marina, how are you? Marina, please guys, you should have to write your name in the chat guys, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Amber, how are you? Amber, thank you so much for your joining. Amber, how are you? Amber, Dario, how are you? Dario, thank you so much for your joining, dear Dario. Nicole, how are you? Nicole, hurry up guys to write your name. Les, how are you? Les, thank you so much for your joining. Les, Manon, how are you, Manon? Please, guys, you should have to do the super chat, guys. Yeah, you should have to do the super chat. Eric Kwe, how are you, Eric Kwe? Jehan, how are you, Jehan? Thank you so much for your joining. Jehan, a lot of love and respect for your joining. Darina, how are you, Darina? Fatima, how are you, Fatima? I'm fine. I'm good, dear. Where are you from watching, pretty? Leonel, how are you, Leonel? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Leonel. A lot of love and respect for your joining. Yeah, guys. Korea, oh, thank you so much for watching from Korea. Larry, how are you, Larry? Thank you, dear. Can you do a super chat for the support? To write your name, guys. Jaddy, how are you? How are you, dear Jaddy? No need for thanks. And Jaddy, how are you, Jaddy? Oh, thank you so much for the star, Rosina. Thank you for the star, Rosina. Thank you. Can you send me a gift, Rosina? Rosani, can you send me a gift, Rosani? Can you send the gift, mother, for my support? Thank you, Rosina. Can you send? You can send me a 6-7 for the support, mother. Manik, how are you, Manik? Thank you so much for your joining, Manik. Alina, how are you, Alina? How are you, Alina? Reina, how are you, Reina? Manon, how are you, Manon? Aisha, how are you, Aisha? Anybody can send the laughing disco, guys. I'll do the super chat for the support. Thank you so much for your joining. Jessica, how are you, Jessica? Thank you so much for your joining, Jessica. Arlette, how are you, dear Arlette? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Arlette. Please, guys, everybody, send the laughing disco. Do the super chat, guys. How are you, dear Arlette? Thank you so much for your joining, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Mona, how are you, pretty Mona? Anybody can do a super chat, guys. Joby, how are you, Joby? Hello, my name is Sammy. How are you, Sammy? Beanie, how are you, Beanie? Any person can do the super chat. Thank you so much for your joining. Manon, how is your name? Looks that. Paulina, how are you, Paulina? Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat, making the like and subscribing to the channel. Millie, how are you, Millie? Changbin, how are you, Changbin? Thank you so much for your joining. Ghana, how are you, Ghana? Any person can send the laughing disco, guys. Ronaldo, how are you, Ronaldo? Este, how are you, Este? Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat, guys, making the like and subscribing to the channel. As hurry, dear, as thank you so much for your joining. Pretty as hurry, as hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat, guys, to send a star and do the super chat for the support, guys. You should have to do the super chat. Yeah, thank you. Welcome, Aza. Welcome there, Aza. You wanna do the super chat for the support, guys? You have to make a small support for by the donation, guys. Thank you, honey. Honey, thank you so much, honey. Honey, can you send me a laughing disco, honey? Honey, can you send me a laughing disco for my support? I need a one laughing disco, honey, for my support if you can, my dear. I don't know. Can you send a 16767? Only a 67. Are you doing names there? Yeah, I'm writing the name. Can you send a 167? Lini, can you do a super chat for my support, my dear Lini? If you can, please make a small donation. Any person can send a laughing disco, guys. Any person can send a laughing disco, guys. Any person can send a laughing disco for the support, guys. You should have to make a small donation for my support, guys. Yeah, yeah, guys, to do a super chat for the support, guys. I really appreciate and respect for you joining. Alije, how are you, Alije? You Nathan, how are you? You Nathan, thank you so much for your joining. You Nathan. Samuel, how are you, Samuel? Any person can do the super chat, guys. If you wanna can support, you have to do the super chat, guys. You can also send me a laughing disco. Yeah, guys, you can also send me a laughing disco for my support, guys. And a lot of love and respect for you joining. You should have to send, guys, laughing disco, super chat, super sticker for the support. Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat. If any person can support, guys, if any person heartily can support me, so you should have to do the super chat for me, guys. If you can heartily support, yeah. Michael, how are you, Michael? Saza, how are you, Saza? Hector. Vanessa, Vanika, how are you, Vanika? Katerina, Roman, how are you, Roman? Any person can send a laughing disco, guys, or do a super chat. Bali, how are you, Bali? Caris, how are you, Caris? McCall, how are you, McCall? Thank you so much for you joining. Emanuele, how are you, Emanuele? Philip, how are you, Philip? Dory, how are you, Dory? Any person can do a super chat for the support, guys, or can send a laughing disco. If any person can send in, guys, you should have to send up one laughing disco for the support, guys. You should have to then send a one laughing disco, guys. McGall, how are you, McGall? Thank you so much for your joining. Jason, how are you, Jason? Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat. Hi, Cristiano, how are you, Cristiano? Every respecting member, you should have to write your name. Can you send me the gift, guys? Can you send the laughing disco? Yeah, guys, can you Why not? Bralin, hi Bralin. Everybody have to like and subscribe the Bralin guys. Bralin Wolf is a kind and a great person. Shout out to Bralin. Grace, how are you, Grace? Selminan, how are you, Selminan? Any person can do a super chat, guys. Any person can do a super chat, guys. Leora, how are you, Leora? Any person can send the laughing disco or do the super chat, guys. Alana, how are you, Alana? Dahana, how are you, Dahana? Kari, how are you, Kari? Any person can do the super chat, guys. If you wanna can to please do a super chat for my support, guys. Enough for you, enough. To send a laughing discord, do a super chat, guys, for the support. If you wanna can support to the easily, yeah, you wanna can send me, guys. I love family. Thank you for joining, my dear. Thank you, Ashile. Thank you. If you wanna can support, guys, you should have to support. Send a laughing disco or do a super chat. Julia, how are you, Julia? Yeah, guys, you should have to send a laughing disco for lost hair. Thank you, pretty. Thank you for the support. Oh my God, Saf, thank you so much, my dear Saf. Thank you so much. God bless you, pretty. Thank you. If you Saf, can you send one laughing disco for my support, pretty? Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. If you can, Saf, you should have to send a one laughing disco. If you cannot a laughing disco, you should send a 167. Yeah, 167 for my support. Oh my God. Saf, are you crazy? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my lovely brother. God bless you, Saf. Thank you. Have a good day, Mallory. Thank you, Wallah. I never forget your greatness. I never forget your support. Wallah, it's a big support for me. You know, I did not have to get support today. That's why. Thank you, Saf. Thank you. Thank you, my dear. I did not have to get support today. That's why I wanna need too much support for I wanna to do the lives for a long to get support. So no worry. I know the people have some supportive people has should be joined. I know some supportive will be joining me. I know they will be support me. Mercy. How are you, Mercy? Alex, how are you, Alex? I'm only waiting for the supportive people, so they have to join me for my support. They should do a super chat or send me a some laughing disco. I know, give me money. That is you. Okay. Yes, Krishna. Sarah, how are you, Sarah? Sahara, how are you, Sahara? Aliha, how are you, Aliha? Davino, how are you, Davino? Hurry up, guys, to write your name, increase the likes, and do a super chat for the support, guys. Rosemary, how are you, Rosemary? Thank you for the subscribing. Osad, how are you, Osad? Thank you, Osad, how are you, Osad? Larry, how are you, Larry? Romeo, how are you, Romeo? Any person can send a laughing disco, guys, for the support or do a super chat, guys. Iranian, Arvin, how are you, Arvin? Zoe, how are you, Zoe? How are you, Zoe? Thank you so much for you joining. Hussein, how are you, Hussein? Hussein, I read your name, my dear. Hi, Hussein. I'm good, dear. Esther, how are you, Esther? Larry, how are you, Larry? Welcome, my dear. Angeline, how are you, Angeline? How are you, Angeline? Thank you so much for you joining, dear Angeline. Any person can do a super chat. Kurdish. Hi, Kurdish. How are you, Kurdish? Welcome, dear. Vinny, how are you, Vinny? Thank you so much for you joining. Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat, guys. Yeah, guys, to write your name. Ava, how are you, Ava? Angel, how are you, dear Angel? Lavin, how are you, Lavin? Any person can do the super chat, guys. If you can do a super chat, you should have to make a small donation, guys, for the super chat. Yeah, small donation is enough for me, guys. Amber, how are you, Amber? Hurry up, guys, to write your name in the chat, guys. Making the like and subscribing to the channel. Sadi, how are you, Sadi? Rohi, how are you, Rohi? Cora, how are you, Cora? Thank you so much for your joining, Cora. Any person can send me a laughing disco, guys, or do a super chat for my support, guys. Dedora, how are you, Dedora? Any person can do a super chat or send me a laughing disco for my support, guys. Yeah, please make a small donation, guys. Ryan, how are you, Ryan? How are you, Ryan? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Ryan. A lot of love and respect for you joining, Ryan. Hurry up, guys. Could you write my names? Nice to meet you, bros. I'm Brazilian and follow and I'm Asidera. Why not there? I want to ask if you could add the following names for the Cassie. Okay, I'm Brazilian. I'm Brazilian. I am Asidora. How are you, Asidora? How are you, Asidora? Any person can do the super chat, guys. Katsia, how are you, Katsia? How are you, Katsia? Laura, how are you, Laura? Yuna, how are you, Yuna? Any person can do a super chat for my support, guys, or can send a laughing disco for my support. Kinda lean, how are you, kinda lean? Kaka, how are you, Kaka? Hurry up, guys. Every respected member, you should have to write your name in the chat, guys. Thank you so much for your joining. Hurry up, guys. Zaglol, how are you, Zaglol? Anesthesia, how are you, Anesthesia? Anesthesia, how are you, Anesthesia? How are you, Anesthesia? Any person can send a laughing disco, guys. Harry, how are you, Harry? Emily, how are you, Emily? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Emily. Wesley, how are you, Wesley? So please put the Laura. Okay, Laura, Megan, hi Megan, Sophia, Manu, any person can send the laughing disco, guys. Danala, how are you, Danala? Hurry up, guys. Jessica, how are you, Jessica? Jessica, can you send me a one laughing disco? Hurry up, guys. Every respected member to write your name in the chat, guys. Pedro, how are you, Pedro? Yunchi, how are you, Yunchi? Okay. Dusus, how are you, okay, Dusus? Dennis, how are you, Dennis? Welcome there. How are you, Dennis? Any person can send me a laughing disco, guys, or send a super chat. Nali, how are you, Nali? Johnny, how are you, Johnny? Thank you so much for your joining, dear Johnny. Any person can do the super chat, guys. Emilio, how are you, Emilio? Hi, you're from Brazil. Okay, thank you for watching from Brazil. Anderson, how are you, Anderson? Any person can send me the gift, guys, or send me the laughing disco or do the super chat. Aurora, how are you, Aurora? How are you, Aurora? Benicio, how are you, Benicio? Alina, how are you, Alina? Horia, how are you, Horia? Abrar, how are you, Abrar? Lala, how are you, Lala? Any person can send a laughing disco, guys. Pofolo, how are you, Pofolo? Leocina, how are you, Leocina? Aroha, how are you, Aroha? Olivia, how are you, Olivia? Oh, thank you for the hand road, thank you. Thank you, Noe, how are you, Noe? Can you send me a rock? Can you send me a one laughing disco, my dear? Rock, Rockstar, can you send me a one laughing disco, Rockstar? Alina, how are you, Alina? How are you, Alina? Alina, how are you, Alina? I don't know anyone. Can you send a 167? Can you send a one? Can you send me a 167? 167 only. 167 is enough for me. So if you can easily to send out 67, my dear. Oh my bad now. No worry, dear Leora. How are you, Leora? Thank you. Welcome. Yuna, how are you, Yuna? Hurry up, guys. Any person can send me a one laughing disco, guys. Kale, hurry, Kale. How are you, Kale? Moke, hurry, Moke. Hale, hurry, Hale. Hurry up, guys. Any person can send me a laughing disco, guys. If you can, to send me a laughing disco for my support, guys. Tiffany, hurry, Tiffany. Hi Mia, how are you, Mia? Thank you so much for joining. Nada, how are you, Nada? Thank you so much for your joining. Any person can send me a one laughing disco, guys. Only one laughing disco I need, guys. Any person can send it right now. Can send it right now. Only one laughing disco is need. Yeah, guys. Damon, hurry, Damon. Paris. Hi, Paris. How are you, Paris? Zaria, how are you, Zaria? Jacob, how are you, Jacob? Any person can send me a one laughing disco, guys. Naria, how are you, Naria? Larry, how are you, Larry? Mario, how are you, Mario? Any person can send a one laughing disco or do a super chat for my support, guys. Make a small donation of the super chat, guys. Yeah, I have need only a small donation for the support, guys. Any person can do it today, guys. I have to need a small support, guys. I have to need a small support for of the donation, guys. Amelia, how are you, Amelia? Hi, Amelia, how are you, Amelia?